My name is Laura Vasquez. I'm a sixth grade dual immersion teacher.
Awesome, awesome. Can you tell, for those that don't know what a dual immersion teacher is, can you explain a little about what you do and how do you split that between? I want to know specifically how you split your day with English and Spanish. How does that work?
All right, so it depends on the district, what the model looks like. There could be a 50-50 model or it could be a 90-10 model. So
Oh,
I teach a 90-10 model. Uh,
oh,
it basically, they start in kindergarten. 90% of their day is in Spanish and 10% of the day is in English. And then it increments. Um, the English increments 10% every year until they get to fifth grade, and then that's where it's 50-50.
wow,
Fifth
wow.
grade, and then I teach sixth grade. Our day is divided into 50-50. So 50% of the day is Spanish, 50% of the day is English.
Wow.
That's
Okay, so so in kindergarten it's 90-10. You said.
Yes.
Wow. And how is that? How so I work at a school where there's a dual language program, but we don't do it that way.
Mhm.
It's 50-50 all across the board. So we start at
Yes.
kindergarten, it's 50-50 all the way up to the sixth grade.
Mhm.
But I find though that some of the kids, their Spanish is not that good, I would say, by the time they get to sixth grade. And I figure like if you start strong in kindergarten, by the
Mhm.
time they get to sixth grade, right? Like tell me about that. What do you see?
Well, I've only had experience in the 90-10 model, even at the previous school where I worked at. Um, I do know that technically it doesn't matter which program you do, but you need to do it right.
Yeah.
So I think a lot, and right now what we're seeing is because of COVID. um, Spanish is a conversational language. So if you don't
Mm.
practice in person, the conversation aspect of it, it's really easy
Yeah.
to lose it.
Yeah.
Right now, this generation of kids that we see or that we're seeing right now, they were cut short in third grade. And third grade is like a really important grade because that's
Hmm.
when you start doing like heavy reading comprehension,
Yeah.
vocabulary acquisition. And so it's going to be rocky for a few years because
Yeah.
that loss that we had.
Yeah.
We had online learning, but it's for Spanish. It I don't think it works. So
No, no, and I think online learning in general, I felt like it didn't work. I
yes,
felt like, yeah, it was a mess. And then, you know, you have these kids that are like so far behind, and then you
yes,
have these kids that don't want to come to school anymore. Like
mm-hmm.
that, I don't know about your school, but we have a huge problem with attendance. Like kids are
Yes,
not coming to
chronic
school.
absenteeism. Yes.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And they're always tardy, and I've seen that, and I think a lot of it has to do with happened during COVID. I mean, what
Mm-hmm.
happens at your school? You see the same thing?
Yes. So I think we're actually my district is doing a lot of like incentive programs to
Yeah.
get kids to come to school, which I
Hmm.
can see it working for some kids, but for some kids it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Um, and I do think it has to do with students not feeling successful. And it also, I
Yeah.
think it also kind of has to do with like how the teachers are, our reaction to the COVID, the COVID
Hmm.
wave, I guess I
Hmm.
would call it, because I do know that some teachers can get caught up on trying to teach things the same way as before, and we
Yeah.
can't do it anymore. Like
Yeah. No,
the
no, no
that
way.
we
There's no way that we could follow that model.
content we teach, it like there's no way we can do the things that we were doing before and expect them to work now.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Everything is digital, right? Everybody has a device now, and how does that work with dual language? Are you using technology to teach dual Spanish as well in the classroom,
Yes,
or?
I love technology.
Yeah.
I what I tell my students is we're gonna do like a blended classroom. So
Hmm.
we have our paper assignments, but then I also do a lot of the digital components, and I also think it's important because I mean for college,
Yeah. Oh
it's
yeah.
if students decide to go that route, they're going to need to know how to do word processing. And I teach my students how to format essays, how to, space it out, how
Right.
to make it look the way it's supposed to look, not like
Yeah.
because they want to go crazy with the fonts and I
Yeah.
think digital literacy is as important as like literacy overall. I
Yeah.
think we just have to do it right. Um,
Yeah.
so I do use it for Spanish. We're lucky that my district did adopt programs for like reading and math that have digital components in both languages. So that
Mm,
makes it a lot easier for us. Hmm.
yeah. Do you have sixth grade students that still don't are not able to speak Spanish in
No,
your dual language?
no,
No.
they
Okay.
all speak Spanish.
That's good.
Yeah.
I know I'm Mexican. I'm Mexican, but I don't speak Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. And you know, my grandparents were born here, and their grandparents were born here. So
Mhm.
I'm like, I don't know, third, fourth generation here. So my Spanish is terrible. And growing up, like you grow up and you don't speak Spanish, and you go to a all like Latino school,
Mhm.
it's a problem. It's a problem.
It is.
And you're not accepted on one end, and then the other side doesn't accept you, and so you're like in this weird limbo thing of like, you know, um, where do I fit in?
Yeah.
Um, do you see that at all at your school? Is there anybody like that at your school? No.
Um, Honestly, my school is very diverse. I do
Mm,
see separation though within uh,
yeah.
our kids because we are like a magnet program. So
Yeah.
we're in our district. There's a few schools who have the dual program. Not all
Mm,
schools have it. So in my school, there's 4 classes per grade level,
yeah.
and then there's two that are dual and two that are just mainstream all English. And
Uh,
our kids sometimes refer to each other as, "Oh, the English kids," "Oh, the Spanish
mhm,
kids,"
yeah.
even though they both speak English and
Yeah.
Spanish.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do see that. I think after COVID though, I started noticing like they just are blending each other with each other, which is
Yeah.
really
The
nice.
languages.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. I remember I worked at this school, it's middle school, and there was um it was in well, it was a middle school, and you had the Spanish speaking students and you had the English speaking students, but everybody was Hispanic at the school. So like everybody, like 99% of this population was all, Mexican from El Salvador, like everywhere. And you would have these kids say, "Oh, the Spanish kid," and I was like, the Spanish kid, you speak Spanish. What are you
Yeah,
talking about? You're
yeah.
Mexican. You're from El Salvador. What do you mean, the Spanish kid? That's you too.
Mhm.
You have that at your school, you said, right?
Yes.
Something
Uh-huh.
like that. Yeah.
Even though they're from like Spanish speaking countries themselves, just because they're
Yeah.
not in the dual immersion program,
Mhm.
like they're not in the dual class, then they
Yeah.
refer to the students in the dual class as the Spanish kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we talked about this earlier. This post that you had, right? From the Grand Canyon post I saw, right, where it was you graduating from Grand Canyon University, then you as a little girl. Did you always want to be a dual language teacher? Was that
No. Oh, you're gonna take me all the way back.
to go all
Uh,
the way back?
I was born in Mexico, and I
Okay.
came here when I was 10.
Oh
So
wow.
the picture in the post you're referring to, it was taken maybe 2 years before we made the move here.
Mhm.
Um, and I was very angry at my parents for doing that because we had no one here.
Yeah.
Uh, and it was really hard. So in the beginning, I didn't want to go to school. I hated school.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's like a full circle moment that I'm a teacher now because I
Yeah.
hated it.
I get
Um,
it.
in high school, I actually got caught ditching freshman year, and I
Hmm.
had to do community service, and I had to pay a ticket out of my allowance,
Oh.
and I had to go to court, and I did my community service at the local elementary school. in
Mm-hmm.
the kindergarten class. And the teacher there, like a few days after my community service started, she said, "Have you ever thought about becoming a teacher?" And I looked at her like, "Lady, I hate, what do you mean a
I
teacher?"
that's funny.
Yeah, so she's like, "It's just you're really good with kids."
Mm-hmm.
And I think that stuck with me.
Yeah.
And and then I started thinking of, okay, what am I going to do? So then I decided that school was going to be what either took me back to Mexico or what would keep me here, but
Yeah.
like in a positive path, I guess.
Yeah.
Because my goal was to go back to Mexico and do university in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
That changed. Then that didn't happen.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't like school either. I grew up, disliking school. My parents didn't graduate from high school, right? So there was no real push. There's no real push for education. They just wanted me to graduate and then get a job, right? That's basically it. And so, I'm in high school and I'm barely getting by, and I ditch and I'm barely barely getting by. And, you know, I graduated from high school and I work at this I work with I started working with kids like at the park. There's like some I work with kids at the park, and I noticed that I'm pretty good with working with kids. I'm like, man, this is pretty good. Then I got into this one. I worked at a Lutheran school as a playground supervisor, and I loved it. I was like, you know what, this is it. I feel like this is my passion, and I hated school, but I love the idea of helping these kids out, like kids
Mhm.
that need me, right? Kids that I feel are troubled, right? That need some help, need some guidance. I was like, you know what, this is something that I could do. And
Mhm.
so since then, when I was like 18 years old, like I started off as a playground supervisor at 18 years old. I've just been like, you know what, let's just keep working with kids and, help these kids out, especially students with difficult behavior. That's always been my passion, working with those kids.
Awesome.
How do you feel about students with difficult behavior?
They're my favorite.
They're your favorite.
They're my favorite.
Tell me about that. Tell me about how are they your favorite?
I feel like since my, I mean, student teaching, I had a sixth grade class, and the my master teacher, she had been teaching
Hmm.
sixth grade for 20 years, and she told me, Laura, this is the most difficult class that I've gotten in my entire career. And I sat there and I was like, all right. First student teaching assignment. And I was like, okay. She said,
Hmm.
if you survive this, you can do anything.
That's right.
So then I was like, all right, bet. I love myself a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I learned really fast that the way that I had teachers who were very like mean and,
Hmm.
aggressive towards students with difficult behaviors. And I learned
Hmm.
really fast that that wasn't going to work with these kids.
Yeah.
Um, I had a student, and it makes me cry. I had a student who couldn't write sentences in this class,
Hmm.
and he was one of like the ringleader, right? Um, I won him over, and he would ask me to stay during recess to practice his writing.
That's awesome.
When my master teacher saw this, she literally looked at me and she's like, "What did you do?" And I'm like, "Nothing. I treated him with respect."
Hmm.
Um, and I think that's key. Sometimes these types of students will ask for your attention in the most unloving way. And
That's
it's
right.
easy for us to, I guess, for adults to go on like a power trip and try to one up them. And
Hmm.
that's not the case. We need to show them what respect sound like. What does it look like?
Hmm.
Model it for them because they probably don't have that, and they're
Yeah.
only doing what they know. And if we
Yeah.
want to change it, then we need to teach them how to do it, how to talk to each other, how to respect each
Right.
other.
That's
um,
right.
so since
Yeah.
then it's been, I feel like that when we get together as teachers and the teachers from the previous grade say, oh, this student, I literally tell them, please don't tell me. Like,
Yes.
please don't tell
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
I I appreciate your input, but please don't tell me. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to know
Yeah.
because I want to build my own rapport with my students
That's
without
right.
having a misconception of, because everybody perceives everybody differently. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think as teachers, that is one thing that I think we need to step away from
Mm-hmm.
because it kind of can hinder your relationship with your students throughout
Yeah.
the year if you are focusing on what the previous teacher told you about the
Yeah.
student.
Yeah. I know. I have kids. When I was a classroom teacher, I'd have kids come to my classroom and they would say, "Hey, don't you know I'm the kid with difficult behavior? Don't you know always the one that gets in trouble?" I was like, No, I don't know that. What's your name?" I'll shake their hand. "What's your name?" "It's nice to meet you. I'm Mr. Vergara." Right? I don't know who you are. I don't know what happened. I don't know your past. I don't know. No, I don't know any of that. Go ahead and take a seat. Thank you for being in my class and welcome. That's what I would do with these guys. Like, I
Mhm.
don't care what happened last year. I don't care. That none of that matters to me. And we're starting fresh. We're starting fresh, and we're gonna build this respectful relationship. And it's gonna take some time. It's not gonna be like magic. Like, it's gonna happen. But that's what we're gonna do at the beginning.
Mhm.
And that sounds like that's what you do as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know one of my things too. Like when I was a teacher, I would see students, they would always get in trouble. Like they would always get in trouble. And I knew they were going to come into my class the following year. I was like, okay, these kids are going to come to my class. I need to talk to them. I need to
Mhm.
talk to them. And I could just talk to them and they can move on and they're not going to be in my classroom, but I could just have a friendly conversation with them and not just have a friendly conversation where it's easy for them to communicate with me. So like I see them in the hallways and I'd be like, "Hey, what's going on, man? I like your shoes." Or like, "Oh, that nice sweater, man. What's going on? Come here. Let me talk to you for a second." And I would just talk to them. And
Yeah.
then, I win them over before, like in, what is this, April, win them over in May, so that when they're in my classroom in, August, we're good. Like
Yeah.
I've done that already. So
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you how do you handle difficult behaviors in your classroom, right? So like let's say a student is let's start easy.
All
Let's
right.
say a student is just out of their seat and will not sit back down.
Okay.
Something like that. How would you deal with something like that?
I just ask, what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? Do
Yeah.
you need something? Are you
Yeah.
looking for something? Like, what's happening? Oh, I'm
Yeah.
just getting a drink of water. All right, get your drink of water. Sit back down. Do you need a break? Do you need to go on a break? So
Yeah.
I honestly, I give them options, right? Like,
Mhm.
what are you doing? What do you need to be doing? What do you need to do right now? Do you
Yeah.
need anything?
Yeah.
And I think it throws them off guard because they're expected to be told, go sit down.
Mhm.
But it's like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm getting a drink of water. All right, go for
Yeah.
it. I'm throwing this away. All right, throw it away and get back to your seat.
Yeah.
And then they just, oh, okay. I feel like it's really confusing.
Yeah. But it sounds like you're addressing it with respect. That's
Oh,
what it sounds like. You respect your kids, and you don't just, it sounds like you're asking them a question, a genuine question,
mhm,
and then they respond however, and then you respond back with respect. Like, "Do you need something? What do you
mhm.
need? Let me get that for you. Are you good? All right.
Do
Go
you
ahead and
need
go
a
back to your seat."
restroom? Do you need a break?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, I'm big on breaks. My kids know
Mhm.
that they can take breaks if they need to. Uh,
Yeah.
it's like you need to go stretch your legs. Go for it.
Yeah. That's good. How important are routines and procedures at the beginning of the year?
100% important. I mean, I go over sixth grade. Bring
Hmm.
it back, sixth
That's
grade.
great. Middle
I
school
go
here. Yeah.
over how to sharpen a pencil. When
Hmm.
is it appropriate to sharpen a pencil? We practice it.
Yes.
Um, where are the nearest trash can to your seat? I have three trash cans in my classroom. Which trash can are you walking to? Let's practice. Crumble
Yes.
a piece of paper. Walk to the nearest trash can.
Hmm.
I literally do that for the first 2 weeks with
Hmm.
everything. Where is the
Yeah.
tissue box? How do you go get a tissue box? Restroom. When can you go to the restroom? I have a sign out sheet, and our policy at our school is one at a time. So if somebody signed out in the sign out sheet, the next person knows they have to wait till the other person signs
Good.
back in, and then they just go like
Yeah.
that. Like, do what you need to do.
Yeah.
But everything has to be practiced. Everything, turning in papers, taking out materials, putting
Yeah.
materials away. Everything has to have a structure, because if you don't have a structure, your kids are going to have time when they're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, and then that's when mayhem happens.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
Morning routines, same way. They know they come from the first day. So I start with my morning slide. They have a morning question and their morning work. They come in
Mm-hmm.
and they start on that every
Yeah.
single day. So there's no like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Like, no, bro, you do know. We've
Yeah.
been doing
Yeah.
this from day one. Like,
Yes.
how
Yeah. Then what happens when they don't follow the procedure? Like what how do you redirect them?
I think I think it depends. So again, my magical four questions. I don't know if you're familiar with capturing kids' hearts. Um,
Mm-mm.
but they have four magical questions that I literally have on my board, and I recommend it to parents. It's, what are you doing? What are you
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be doing? What are you going to do? And are you going to do it? Like,
Okay.
so it's like four questions, and always my first question is like, hey, what are you doing? Like, oh, I'm whatever.
Yeah.
What do you need to do right now? Oh, I need to do my morning question.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are you gonna do about it? Like, oh, I'm gonna get started. Okay, cool. And then I walk.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
if that doesn't work, then I know there's something else going on. So
Mm-hmm.
usually, then I do a check-in, and I just walk as people are working. I walk over to the person's desk. I kneel down and I'm like, hey, are you okay? Like, is something going on? Like, I notice you're off today. You usually
Mm-hmm.
come in, do your work. What's going on today? Like, do you want to
Yeah.
tell me? Do you want to write me a note? Do you need to go to the counselor? What is it? How can I help you? Can I help you?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
if I can't, do you need me to find someone who can help you?
Yes.
Um, so I think it's just very important to start noticing those little changes in behavior, because
Yeah.
that's when usually uh, when I can tell that something is off.
And that's and you notice those change of behaviors because of the relationships you built with your kids, right? Like you know them.
Yes,
You know them and you know everybody's temperament. You know when they some people are off and some people are on and because of the way you built the relationship with the student, right?
yes.
How do you build those relationships with your students?
Well, I think the our morning routines. I do a morning questions.
Hmm.
I got this idea from restorative circles.
Hmm.
But instead of doing like an actual circle, I do a morning question. In the first few weeks, it's just very basic, like, what's your favorite color?
Yeah.
What's your favorite food? As time goes on, then I get more personal.
Yeah.
And it's not every day that I do like a super personal question, but they have to answer on a sticky. And the reason I do it on a sticky is because they turn it into me and I can read it. Like,
Hmm.
as they're working on their morning assignment, I'm reading their stickies, and I set
Yeah.
aside the stickies that I'm like, ooh, I,
Yeah.
I can check it on him or
Yeah.
her on whatever. And then I check in with them and I ask them, hey, what about this? And throughout the day, I make comments regarding whatever it is they wrote. Like,
Wow.
if they said their favorite color is purple, then I notice, oh, they're purple sharpener. I love that you have a purple sharpener like your favorite color.
Mm.
And kids notice that. They know, like, if you genuinely care and notice what their interests are, they catch on that really, really fast.
Absolutely. They're good at that.
Yes, they are
Mhm.
good at that.
Wow. Well, that's impressive. That sounds. I know. Yeah, I know. I had a morning check-in when I was a teacher, and it was always the same thing. It was this. It was like I would tell the kids, all right, you know, we're about to do math, or we're about to do reading, but before we do reading, guys, we're going to go ahead and check in. Does anybody have anything to share about anything? And then kids will raise their hand, and they start off small, like, oh, I went to eat McDonald's last night. Oh, cool, And then we start asking questions about McDonald's, like, what's your favorite thing at McDonald's? Like, how
Mhm.
is a Coca-Cola better at McDonald's than it is at Burger King? I don't know. What do
Mhm.
you guys think? And we start asking questions about McDonald's, right? And then another hand is raised, and they're like, last night I watched, and they tell us what they watched, and we're like, hey, has anybody seen that before? And so we're making
Mhm.
connections. Has anybody? Oh yeah, I saw that. It's a good show. Or I didn't like that show. That's why didn't you like that show? Tell us why. And
Mhm.
so we would just connect in the morning about just life. Like
Yes.
I ate this. I went to see this. My sister's sick. Oh, who else is sick in the family? Is your sister sick too? Like, and we just connect. And it was all about like we're all like your experience is similar to my experience. Like
Mhm.
you have a sick sister. Guess what? My grandma's sick too. There's something must be going around. And we make these little connections. And now we're able to communicate better in the classroom because we know each other, right? And because the kids know each other, they're less likely to harm each other
Mhm.
because everybody is in the same, like, we're a family in this classroom, and I'm not going to harm anybody in this class. I know you. I know about your sick grandma. I know that you don't like McDonald's fries. I
Mhm.
know that, and because of that, I've noticed that, what, we're not gonna harm each other. We're gonna harm each other less because it's easy to harm somebody that you
That you don't
don't
care about.
know. You
Or that
don't know. Yeah, you don't know them, right? You don't know this person. I don't know nothing about you, so it's easy for me to talk about you. But if I knew that you had a sick grandma, if I knew that your cousin was disabled, if I knew that your dad passed away, well, maybe I wouldn't be saying some of the things I'm saying, right?
Mhm.
Maybe I would just keep my mouth quiet and try to help you out. And so that was the point of the morning check-in for me, was to
Mhm.
make like classroom community.
Yes.
So how good is your classroom community? How do you build your classroom community? Like just
Um,
the check-ins, like you were saying, and one quick thing, I did see that you have like these cool little like drawers on social media, like, and you had like, I don't know, something like, if you need pencils, I got pencils. If you need
yes.
erasers, I got
Yes.
whatever. You had like all these little cool drawers, and tell me
So
about, does that help out with
I
classroom community?
it does because
Yeah.
to be honest, I believe in a self-sufficient classroom. Like all the way through. I have
Hmm.
jobs, okay? And these jobs, the kids like doing these jobs and basically things that I don't want to do. But it helps with the community because,
Yeah.
like the paper passer, like my pencil person, make sure
Hmm.
the pencils are sharpened. Little things that make them feel that they're part of running our classroom. So all
Yeah.
these drawers, it's anything, everything, calculators, line paper, graph paper, extra paper, scratch paper, white paper.
Hmm.
I have markers, erasers, and they know where all these materials are at. And
Yeah.
I know some teachers might feel like, oh my gosh, well, they're going to ruin everything. They're going to just misuse it. They won't if you teach
Hmm.
them how to use the
That's
materials.
right. That's
They won't
right.
misuse it because they
Hmm.
know it's our materials and
That's right.
it's for our use. So if
Hmm.
they misuse it, they lose it,
Yeah.
and they don't
Right.
want to lose the privilege of using a pencil
No.
when they forgot theirs at home. Uh,
Yeah.
and I think it's just little things like that that I don't really care about. I think that was the video, like
Yeah.
the teacher that I don't really care about because it's just a pencil. If you think about it in the big scheme of things, it's just a pencil.
Yeah.
It's just a piece of paper.
Yeah.
But again, all of those things we talked about in the beginning of the school year. Like,
Yeah.
how do you use the pencil correctly? When you're done with the pencil, you put it back.
Hmm.
If the pencil breaks, you toss it, you let me know so we replace it with another pencil so that our supply doesn't run low. Um,
Yeah.
so it I feel like when you make them part of your classroom routine,
Hmm.
they feel ownership in that classroom and they feel like
Yeah.
they belong there.
I think that's huge. Ownership and belong there, right? This is our classroom, and we all belong here. Like I would every year I'd buy a brand new pencil sharpener. Every year when I was a class teacher, I buy a brand new pencil sharpener, right? And so, like, the school gives you like this little tiny little electric pencil sharpener. It's gonna break down. That thing's not gonna work, right? And so I'll go out of my way and buy like a, I don't know, like a $60 pencil sharpener. Yeah, like a really good pencil sharpener, right? And I'll bring it in and I'll open the box. I'll be like, hey guys, here's the pencil sharpener they gave me this year, but we're not gonna use that. This is our pencil sharpener right here. And this
Mhm.
is how we use it. And this is what we're gonna do with it. And we're gonna make sure that we take care of it because we don't want this one to break down. I bought it for you guys, right? I want you guys to use it and sharpen your pencils. I didn't want you to use this little one where it wouldn't work and you'd be frustrated. I wanted you to use this one where like this is better, and
Mhm.
we could use this pencil sharpener. It's a better sharpener. I bought it for you guys. So let's
Mhm.
just take care of it, guys. And like you were saying, because it becomes theirs, it's the classrooms, and we're gonna take care of it. And people would raise their hand, be like, "Hey, Mr. Vergara, look, he's putting a crayon in there. He's putting a crayon in the pencil sharpener." And
Mhm.
they would like, oh, like they would rat each other out because that's our pencil
Like,
sharpener.
what do you mean? You're gonna ruin
Yeah,
it for everybody.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so that's so huge is to like, okay, this is our classroom. These are our things, right?
Mhm.
We take care of our things, and this is how we take care of our things,
Mhm.
right? Sounds like that's what you're doing over
Yes.
there.
And
Yeah.
they need to know that you mean it,
Hmm.
because I mean, kids are kids. They will know if you're being fake.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
like, you need to mean what you say to them, and genuinely, allow them to be themselves in your classroom, to go in and use the materials and trust that. I feel like that's the hardest part as an
Hmm.
adult in the classroom, to trust that they're going to use them in the proper way, and then
Yeah.
you'll have your supplies.
Yeah.
It's rulers. I've had the same rulers for like, I don't know, 8 years.
Hmm.
They're like, they're a little dinky and beat up a little bit, but they still work.
The work they still you can still measure with them.
Rulers, and no one is misusing the materials. So I
Mm.
just feel like it's just really important to set that from the beginning, and just let them know, like, hey, these are your things for you to use.
Yeah.
But
What kind of message do you think that sends to the kids, right? Like, what kind of message does it send to the kids when you go out of your way to buy a pencil sharpener or buy rulers or buy colored pencils for them? What message does that send versus somebody who says, you know what, I'm not going to buy anything for the classroom. That's too much money and I'm not going to do it, so I'm not going to. What kind
that
of
I
message does that send to kids that you
that I
care?
care. Mm-hmm.
And because you care, I feel that goes the amount of money that a pencil sharpener will cost me, all right, whatever it is, $60, whatever it is, right? Let's say it's $100 pencil sharpener. Let's just go high here. $100 pencil sharpener. If I spend $100 on pencil sharpener and I taught them about how to use a pencil sharpener, about respect, and about, this is for us in our classroom, and the return on that pencil sharpener out is more than how much money I spent on that pencil sharpener. The return is so much more greater because
I
I taught the kids how to respect, how to use this pencil sharpener. This is our pencil sharpener.
agree.
I taught them about like giving and caring and loving the things that we have in our classroom. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that is so huge. And I don't think people understand that. I think they just see things as that's $50 I just spent on somebody who's going to ruin the pencil sharpener. It's going to break anyway. So why do I even buy something like that for the
And
classroom?
I think it has to do with the attitude too,
Yeah.
because we can be predetermined to think that our kids are, they're gonna go feral on the materials.
Hmm.
They're just
Yeah.
gonna ruin everything, because that's what these kids nowadays do. They don't respect anything. But again, it comes back to the connection and teaching them
Hmm.
what that respect looks like, even to
Yeah.
our things that we have in our classroom for us to
Yeah.
use.
Yeah. Absolutely. Um, I want to go back to difficult behavior here. Like I recently made a post about like when you should call admin, when you should call admin when behaviors are getting out of control in your classroom, right? When would you call admin
Never.
for help? Never. I love the answer because that's a good. If you should call admin for something, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna give you my opinion, but you never call admin, correct? Is
I
that
try not to.
is
Yes,
very rare?
yes, very rare. Um, though I can think off the top of my head of one instance where I did have to call for backup.
Hmm.
Just because I had a student who is autistic. Um, he was on the lower spectrum, but he would get really intense. We misplaced the paper. He
Hmm.
misplaced the paper. He thought I misplaced it. So then something out of the norm for him was huge. So he attempted to throw a desk, and I just told him, "You can be upset. I get it. You're mad, but I'm not going to allow you to hurt yourself, hurt me, or hurt anybody else. You
Yeah.
can sit here and be upset. Go for it."
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
then I had to call for someone to come and get my kids, not necessarily for admin to intervene.
Yeah.
So then admin came in and said, "Do you need us?" And I was like, "No, like I got it." like
That's good.
let me handle it. I just
Yeah.
needed to take my kids out to lunch because I got it. And then they said,
Yeah.
"Well, it's your lunchtime," and I'm like, "It's fine.
Yeah.
I got it."
And,
Because I knew the student very well,
hmm.
and I knew it was something that was out of his routine. We ended up finding the paper
Yeah.
after he calmed down. He had
Yeah.
stapled it to another paper, so then he thought he lost it, or he thought I lost it, but he
Yeah.
had stapled it with another paper. But it
Hmm.
was more of like support wise because he was putting others in danger, and I
Yeah.
did not want anybody to get hurt.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
like
And
when you're a danger to others, then yeah, I'm gonna call for backup.
yeah. No, yeah. That's
Yeah.
that, and that's when you should. Then that's when you should call admin. I believe. I
Hmm.
feel like if it is okay, so danger to others, that might be considered an assault, right? If you throw a desk and you hit somebody, if you throw a book across the room and it hits somebody, then that's considered an assault, right? So anything in my mind that's considered a criminal offense, an assault. Let's say they have drugs. Let's say a sixth grader has weed, alcohol or something like that. So you got drugs, you got alcohol, you got harassment, things of that nature. Where I'm going to have to call school police as a admin. That's what you give to admin,
Hmm. I agree.
and the fact that you handled that tough situation in my mind sends a huge message to the rest of the kids in the classroom
Hmm.
that Ms. Vasquez is in charge of everything up in this room. Like
Hmm.
she is in charge of
Hmm.
everything that goes on in this room. And I called admin not to save it. Like they took you guys to lunch. I'm
Yeah.
still here with the kid.
Uh-huh.
I'm
Yeah.
still here handling this situation, and I'm gonna get through it. And um, yeah, I think that you send a huge message when you handle your own stuff. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I agree. I agree
Yeah.
because I need to set my presence. Again, super respectful always with my kids, but they
Yeah.
also need to know that I'm in charge. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like not in a power trip kind of way. It's just like, bro, we're gonna handle what we need to handle in our classroom
Hmm.
because the fact if I call an outsider, they don't know you like I know
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So I rather handle it here because I know you,
Yeah.
and the principal
My
doesn't know you
mhm.
because
Ho-
you know.
hopefully, if it was a good admin, he does know that kid.
Yes.
Hopefully,
Yes.
if it's a good admin. My problem with like I worked as a dean, right? I worked as a dean of students, and I would, let's say there was a crisis and the student said that they wanted to harm themselves,
Oh
and
yes.
it was just me and the assistant principal. So I'm the dean, and we have assistant principal. We deal with all the behavior. Um, if the student says they want to harm themselves, then the assistant principal is now taken out of the picture, right? And so now it's me handling all the behaviors in the whole school. So it's one guy handling all the behaviors in the whole school, right? So let's say there's 25 classrooms. So one person is handling all 25 classrooms, and let's say I get caught up in one classroom because there's a behavior problem, and another teacher texts me like, "Hey, Mr. Vergara, I need help over here." I won't be available. I won't be available to help out. And if that teacher, teachers are going to be without help because most schools are understaffed anyway.
Yes.
And so if you can't handle a situation that is not a criminal offense, then you're going to have a really difficult time because sometimes admin and deans are all caught up with other behaviors that are bigger than some of the behaviors you're calling us for.
Yes.
And yeah, so if you can't handle those behaviors, that's a problem. And I feel like, the whole goal for admin is to equip the teachers to be they're successful. Like, how do I equip the teacher to be successful in this classroom? How do I help them with their classroom management? So, that's just a tough, sensitive subject to talk about.
And I think with it's a lot because as teachers we have to manage a lot. But over
Yes.
the years, I've honestly, it's not that I don't care about content. I do. I teach what I need to teach. I do what I need to do.
Yeah.
But my ultimate goal is to teach my kids how to human.
Yeah.
That's how I tell them. So
Yeah.
if they have a conflict and recess and they come in and they tell me, Miss Vasquez, this happened at recess, we talk about it on the spot. Like
Hmm.
I tell the class, all right, you guys, you're doing this independently right now. I'll be back. I go into the hallway and we have a one-on-one to whoever. I start pulling kids out. It takes time,
Oh yeah.
but the time invested in those conversations, in that conflict resolution, the kids know that you're there for them.
Hmm.
Like one time, some of the girls were telling me all these things about their friendship group, and then I said, what do you guys need me to do? You need me to do anything? Like, can I help you with something? And they literally said, no, Miss Vasquez, you're like our therapist. We're just telling you, like, we can handle it. We're gonna
Yeah.
talk to her because you taught us how to talk. That
It's
we need to
awesome.
talk about our feelings.
Yeah, that's
We
awesome.
just wanted to let you know because you're like our therapist. And I was
That's
like,
awesome.
all right, cool, okay.
Yeah.
So I just feel like it takes a lot of time, but at the end of the day, my goal is to teach them how to manage, to teach them
Yeah.
how to talk to each other. Yes, I teach them reading, math, science, social studies, all that stuff. But I really focus on the
Y-
relationship building.
Yeah. Yeah. You sound just like me.
Yeah,
You sound just like me. What you just said right now is something I would say.
yeah,
Like, yeah, the content, but I'm trying to teach these people how to be good human beings.
yes,
I'm trying to teach them how to love and be respectful, to be hardworking, to like all teamwork, to learn how to communicate. That's what I'm really teaching my kids, and so that sounds exactly like what I do.
yeah.
But you see all these teachers on Instagram and TikTok about wanting to quit.
Mhm.
They all want to quit. They're all burnt out. They're all like, I'm making this video. I'm retiring today. Today is my last day of teaching. Um, how bad is it out there? Is it that bad? I'm not in the classroom. How bad is it out there?
Honestly, at my district, we have a really good retention rate.
Okay.
It probably has to do with our union.
Yeah.
We have a really strong union. But I do have neutrals on TikTok, and I see videos on TikTok of teachers wanting to quit and
Hmm.
feeling burnt out. I have colleagues who feel burnt out,
Hmm.
and I don't remember who asked me, like, do you feel burnt out? And my answer is always no. Uh,
Hmm.
I honestly, I prioritize, and I think burnout comes from wanting to do everything perfect. And
Yeah.
as teachers, I feel like we are perfectionists at heart. We want to
Hmm.
teach all the content perfectly. We want to do all the things perfectly. We want to have the perfect classroom. We want to,
Yeah.
everything to be perfect. And I feel like that's where burnout comes
Hmm.
from.
Yeah.
I honestly, one of the videos I made about tips for teachers was use the curriculum the district provides you. Don't reinvent the wheel. If the
Hmm.
district spent all this money on this curriculum, then use it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Use
Yeah.
it. Just
Yeah.
use it. It's
Yeah.
okay if you use it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't do activities with your kids and don't do extra things. You can do those things, but if you are not feeling super creative a certain day, that's fine. Use
Yeah.
use the
Use
curriculum
the
that
curriculum.
is like that's why they
Yeah.
spend all that money. Um, just use
Yeah.
it and then focus on your kids.
Yeah. Um, so we're coming to the end of the podcast right here. And I always end the podcast with 3 tips for future educators. Do you what so what tips would you give if you have 3, that'd be great, to future educators coming into being a teacher?
One tip would be to build a rapport with your support staff, your secretary, janitor,
Yeah.
um, all the front office ladies, lovely ladies, or guys. You
Hmm.
can build relationships with them because just as teachers are a big part of the school. They run the school. You need
Yes.
anything, you check in with them.
Yes.
You need a furniture move, check in with your janitor. Be friends with them, give them snacks.
Yeah.
Um, Second tip would be to focus on relationships with your students because at the end of the day, they're not going to learn the content from you if
Mm.
they don't trust you and if they
Yeah.
don't like you.
Yes.
So I'm not saying you have to be likable to all students, but if the kids don't respect you and they don't care for you, they're not going to learn anything from you. Um,
Hmm.
and then the third tip would be don't take work home. Leave work at work, please.
That's
Leave
right.
work.
That's
So
right.
that would be it.
That's right. Well,
Hmm.
thank you so much, Ms. Vasquez, for being on the podcast. I greatly appreciate your time. It's kind of cool, like I said, I follow you on TikTok, and I watch some of your videos, and it's kind of cool to actually have a conversation with you about education and about things of building relationships with students with difficult behavior and classroom management. Thank you
Likewise,
so much for your time.
me.